We're gonna do no cuts in this video, and I'm gonna pretend like you are just sitting right there next to me. I'm enjoying my little treat, and I'm gonna tell you about my day. I'll tell you about my weekend. How about that? And it'll be fun. We'll talk for the duration of this, and whatever points I get across within that time, you'll hear. And all right, let's get going. So I just got back from a date. It's 3 a.m. and I just got back from a date. We went to the Vagabond. Well, we did an escape room first. So nearby where I live, where I'm going to grad school right now, getting my MFA in fiction, there's an escape room, and this was going to be our third date. I met this girl 2 weeks ago now, and I met her on Hinge. And interestingly enough, like I'm not like a big dating app guy or whatever. I don't really go on there often, but I just happened to the same night as she. We matched, and we ended up getting coffee the next day. First date went great. It was like 8 hours. We did coffee, talked for a while. Then we went to Barnes and Noble. Then we went for another little walk around a pond nearby, and it was awesome. It was super fun. And we had some really deep philosophical conversations, and that's what I'm going to focus in on in this video. I want to reflect on some of the conversations that we had and reflect on what that taught me about life, taught me about other people, and I guess, just existence in general. Let's get this going. I'm just yapping right now. So, normally in a YouTube video, you would get a cut right now to something interesting or proctored or curated. Um, just chill out, sit back in your couch, maybe have one with me or open up a water bottle if that's your thing, and let's just hang out together. Let's have a human to human connection, because that's pretty rare nowadays. We get a lot of our socialization just through like watching curated versions of other people. And right now, I'm going to try to really just give you who I am as a person and not try to be a YouTuber, not try to get views. You're just my friend, and we're sitting here together, having a good time. Gotta make sure it doesn't canoe, or else my buddy Sal will yell at me. I don't know if he's gonna watch this video, but every time Sal and I smoke together, the joint ends up canoeing, and he gets all butthurt about it, so we're gonna try to avoid that. So, first date was great. It really was. And I haven't been on, a legitimate date in a long time. Also, I'm wearing my Pistons jacket. We just won game 7 today, or yesterday, I guess, against the Magic. Go Pistons. First date was great. Second date, we went to the movies. That was great. Third date, I just got back from escape room. Then we went and got some pizza. Then we went to a bar. And that's where the conversations got really interesting. Um, we talked a lot about all sorts of things, about purpose, philosophy, um, physicality, family, and it made me realize the beauty and the sanctity of every moment that we have, and every interaction that we have, and every individual person who's around us. And the older I get, and this toes the line between the nihilism versus the whatever ism. Existentialism is I used to be a nihilist, right? So in layman's terms, that means you think nothing happens for a reason. Life is meaningless. Love and pain, meaningless. It's all one and the same. It all ends. Um, since I didn't believe in God, my initial response to that was nihilism. And I think the older I get, the more I'm like, no, things do happen for a reason. And when people say things happen for a reason, I used to misinterpret that as like a god or some higher power is making a plan for me. And there's an objective reason for this to be happening. I'm fitting into a foretold story or something, or a prophecy. And I'm like, that's stupid. I obviously have free will. Like, I can decide if I get up and jump off the balcony right now, you know? I mean, I think that's a silly conversation. Um, and so when I say everything happens for a reason, I say I don't think it was coincidence that the girl I met was that girl and we were able to connect on the level we did and talk about family and talk about where we want to go with our lives and what we want to do with our lives. And what was really interesting is when we got down to talking about stuff like fulfillment and talking about how to even understand and grapple with fulfillment and happiness in these sort of terms, and if our conception of these terms are rooted more in cultural understanding or familial understanding rather than a personal search for a higher state of being, a higher zen. And one of the interesting things about dating, right, is it puts a mirror to yourself in a way that being alone doesn't. I've been living alone now for 2 years. I got out of a 4-year relationship with my ex before I moved in here to start grad school. And since I've been living alone, you really start to live for yourself and not live to align with a perception that another person has of you. And I can ground this in example. Um, when nobody is perceiving me, I'm existing the most true to myself as I possibly can. I get up in the morning and, I'm not a super routine oriented guy. Kind of whatever works for me that morning works for me. The one routine that I have really is a big cup of coffee. But some days I'm going to get up, do that, and go get going on work. Some other days I'm going to get up, take a break, and then get going on work. And it depends on, if I have to go to the school or not, and do that. Because sometimes I have to go to classes and stuff, and sometimes, you. Give me 1 second. It's funny. I'm going to leave that in. Because what I did right there was human. I just had this moment of, oh, everything that I was saying was stupid. And it wasn't curated enough. And it wasn't bullet point enough. And it wasn't attention grabbing enough. And oh, I should start over and list out my things like this so it'll grab attention right away. It'll have watch time. I can share this with people. They'll actually watch it. That's going on in my head as I'm making this video, and it's stupid. I literally sat down to just sit down with somebody. I am sitting down with somebody. You are there. I don't have the option to cut. This is life. You don't have the option to just stop and start and stop and start. I am a human. I make mistakes, and that's okay. And you get to see them. And it's okay if you make mistakes. I'm sorry. I felt like that was important to say. Where was I? We were talking about fulfillment and happiness. And what's interesting is a lot of it depended on upbringing, and a lot of upbringing has to do with culture, and a lot of culture has to do with race. She's black, and we had such different upbringings and understandings of society because of that. And for her, she was her, and not just because of her race, but because of a multitude of factors, and mainly family factors. She was in survival mode. I don't want to drop too much, but basically, didn't have a father present, and the mom was abusive. And so she was in survival mode, and she's thinking about, how do I get to the next day? How do I get to the next day? So when I ask her, what's happiness? What's fulfillment for you? She says, like, control over my space and control over my destiny, financial freedom, like those sorts of things. Me, coming from a family where, you know, it's almost the exact opposite, where I grew up with the picket fence, you know, dad who goes off to work, mother, and success was demanded of and expected of me. It wasn't like survival led to an opportunity in which success would then be something I want to do. Like success for me was something I had to do. And I only got love if I like got the grades, got the position, whether it's like school president. You know what I mean? And it's not always that simple. I mean, of course my parents love me, but when you're a kid, it's like you're like, oh, they love me extra when I do this thing. So you learn like accomplishment. So I think a lot of my happiness and satisfaction comes from accomplishing things that I set my mind to, because it's flipping that childhood expectation on its head. Same for her. She had this childhood expectation of like, I'm always going to be in survival mode because, you know, my mom is abusive. And so now her idea of satisfaction, long-term happiness is like control over her place, destiny, future. It's just interesting how like ideas of what we want for ourselves are so rooted in what we didn't have as children. And I think acknowledging like those responses and just being aware of them so that you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, I don't need to live my life. I don't need to live like my life doesn't have to be a reaction. And I think that's maybe what I'm trying to get at. Like life doesn't have to be a reaction. Even though I was born into a certain situation and certain experiences happened to me that would demand certain responses, like I was bullied as a kid, and generally that would result in like less self-confidence. But if you're aware of things, like, and if you get out of this idea that like you can't decide for yourself what life is, you can flip that on its head. And I don't know if it has to do with like ideas of God and whatnot, but I don't know. The Ubermensch that oh my gosh, the famous existentialist came up with. Why am I forgetting his name? Friedrich Nietzsche. His Ubermensch is basically just the idea of a man or a woman who proclaims that a creator or a decider for their lives and their fate is dead, and we're gonna take the responsibility of that role. We're gonna decide fate, happiness, success for us. And maybe rather than it being a reaction, you know, to childhood, to experience, maybe that idea of success and long-term satisfaction can be something you decide for yourself with enough self-reflection, with enough motivation, with enough like daily just showing up to the grind and being honest with yourself. And I think the best way to tell if you're onto something is like when you get defensive or fearful. Whenever you're defensive, you're getting closer to the truth. Whenever you're fearful, you're getting closer to the truth. So what do you not want to admit about yourself? What do you know deep down is true about yourself, but you're avoiding? You know, like those are the things you need to recognize, because those are the things that give you like actual agency over your fate. Or destiny, however you want to term it. When I take fate, it sounds too much like there's a externalized decider, but what I really mean is destiny, because all things are like a self-fulfilling, self-induced prophecy. You know, all things. Okay, that was fun tangent. Let's bring this back to relationships and talk about how this third date ended. So we have this whole conversation. In long story short, she basically tells me like, "Hey, it's too soon from me getting out of my last relationship. I'm not emotionally available. I'm not ready to date." But this conversation was amazing, and yeah, I think if I reacted, I would be in my bed, or I'd be smoking this joint right now, but I wouldn't be recording, and I'd be stalking, and then I'd go to sleep sad, internalizing and twisting the narrative of the situation to be like, oh, there's either something wrong with me that I didn't do, and that's why she didn't like me. Oh, or there's something wrong with her. And what it really is two souls, assuming human bodies, along for a bumpy ride, which just so happened to collide for a moment in time. And I think a misunderstanding that I had as a child is that things that mattered had to be forever, whether it be love or legacy. Things that mattered had to stand the test of time. And I just don't think it's true. It's all about perspective, you know, like how much time. And who's to say that that moment I had with that girl at the bar isn't, you know, the most important or the most spectacular moment I'll ever have in my life versus if I accomplish the things that I want, which is the book that I'm here to write, the movie that I'm working on. Like I tell myself every day when I wake up, like I'm here to make this thing, you know, to like make my book, to create, to like be forever, to matter, to like to prove to the universe that I was here. And what if it's really to just absorb the moment and to exist in the moment and to treat the moment as if the moment is forever? And even though I might not end up with that girl, that conversation I had with her is forever. And it changed me. And I know it changed her. And it's going to change whoever watches this video because I decided to show up. And I didn't react, but I responded. And I got up and I did something. And now this day will be remembered as not just the day that I reacted, but the day that I, you know, responded and was proactive. My cat is clawing at the door. He really wants to come see me. I'm gonna let him in. You guys are gonna meet my cat. God, boy. I can't step on him. Let me sit down, bud. Okay. You guys want to meet him? Good guy. Oh. Whoa. I love you. I love him so much. He's such a good cat. He is a year, I think 2 or 3 months old. I should, wow, that was noisy. I should know how old he is. I think it's a year and 3 months. So, you know, if you keep living for this idea of what we want, and more particularly the responsive idea of what we want, so like what did we not get as children? How does that manifest in our actionable desire, or like, you know, like our desires in adulthood? How can we take back control of those? Stop living for a future that might or might not make us happy and fulfill us, and try to dedicate ourselves fully and wholly to the moment, to the lessons we can learn from the words that are said in now and the people who are around us that we're interacting with. even if emotionally it hurt, it hurts that the girl didn't want to be with me. And maybe she did, but it just wasn't the right time. Whatever it is, it's not going to be. And that hurts. But cognitively, and in my soul, it's like I can use words, I get to use symbols, I get to use ideas to shape how I see this universe around me, how I see these moments. And that moment was everything because it existed. He wants to go back in. I'll be right back, everybody. And there's something beautiful about that. Now my brain, and this is how my brain works, I think I interpret experience in our physical realm through abstractions and words and physical abstraction, don't have abstraction, but physical similarities within the like quantum level. So if I'm thinking about how a moment is forever, I'm thinking about how the four-dimensional time space plane can be warped and curved, and how you can connect the future and the past by through mass, pretty much. And how quantum entanglement, can circumnavigate the celestial speed limit. There's there's just such a strange order to this that like expectation shapes reality. So if I expect that everything I encounter is meant for me, I will make it so that it is meant for me. And that's me not being religious, because I'm not taking the responsibility of my fate and offloading it to somebody who's already decided it for me just purely through their time and place coincidental, cultural custom outlook. Like if we were born 1,000 years ago, we'd all be having the same conversations, just with different archetypes, and with different levels of, I guess, like scientific knowledge that would then reflect in our abstractions of mysticism and art. And all. Stop scratching on the window, little guy. I'm right here. Sure, what I was getting kind of, yeah. I think we're I think we're winding down. This is almost over. Brain's a little tired. This was fun though, and I'm happy to meet you. It was really great to meet you. I'm Jimmy. What's your name? I would love to know your name and maybe where you're from. That'd be great. I think I was talking about how I interface experience through quantum physics and through language. Because like that's all you can do. You can take your experience and try to think about it in the deepest way we know how, scientifically, philosophically, artistically, spiritually. It's just really trying to push the extent of like your consciousness and push the boundary of self-understanding, and deciding to do that for yourself in a responsive way, and not letting somebody else do that, whether it be your emotional reaction, a religious reaction. Be the Ubermensch. Is it Ubermensch or the Uber? I think it's the Ubermensch. Whatever. It's the Superman. It's the German translation of Superman. But yeah, y'all stay rizzy. Eat your glizzies. Have fun. Don't do anything too spizzy. I'm gonna go pet my cat. I love you guys. I love being alive. I love that I'm here. I don't know where I am. I don't know how I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know why I am, but I know that I am. And Descartes taught us so. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Y'all are. God bless you. Not the God in the literal sense, or literal is the wrong word, not the God in the cultural sense of the manifestations of this whatever the fuck is around us that we've attributed to different symbols that reflect just our current understanding of that time in that current blah 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 time period. I mean God inside of you, inside of the universe, inside of everything around us. Use your expectation to cultivate your reality. Think of yourself as a gardener, and your future is your garden. And the seeds that you plant are the ideas that you sow in your head, and the things that you tell yourself that are possible about your future, whether it be emotionally, physically, spiritually, all these things. I really want you to challenge yourself in that respect. And I'm talking to myself too when I say this. Like, I want to challenge myself in that respect. And I'm a writer. And I think it's important to think these things so that, like, when you go to the page, you're not just sitting there regurgitating, the thoughts of others around you, but what you are is a distillation device of experience. Like, you're taking in all these things and then you're brewing your own concoction with it. You know, all right, that joint's done. This was great. I'm gonna do this more because it was really fun meeting you, and it was fun getting to talk to you. I can't wait to know your name. I can't wait to hear more about you. And we're going to hang out again soon and have another deep talk because this is necessary. As human beings, we need to connect with one another, sit down with one another, sit through the awkward entering. Because if all of you got here, I'm sure the last 5 minutes were a lot better than the first 10. The first 10, we were just trying to find our way. That's what you do when you're a human, you find your way. And you don't get to edit it all out, you know? Like, social media tricks you into thinking you do. Be messy, be a human, connect with others, find your bliss, all that good stuff. I love you guys. Good night. Take care.